Hello, my name is Rin, and I'm creating this channel to focus specifically on my works of fiction. I started writing seriously in December 2016. That was when I started writing my first novel properly. The idea of my first novel was conceived sometime in '89 on a Tuesday in spring when I was in English literature class, which was the last class of that day. I just happen to remember that. But it wasn't until December 2016 that I found the actual start to this novel. Now, when I was at school, I'd say English was my best subject. It was the subject that I liked the best. It wasn't the subject that I did the best in. The subjects that I did the best in were actually religious studies, A, biology, A, and French, A. God knows how, I just managed to get an A in French. I'm really not that good at it. I'm not even intermediate level. I'm more than beginner level, but I'm not intermediate level. But English, I liked English. I liked writing essays because so long as you know how to communicate, how to use the language, you can't really go wrong. You don't need to study for it. So I liked that freedom of being able to do passably or more than passably well at something that doesn't require a crap load of preparation. So when I was in school, I went to the Convent of the Holy Child Jesus, Sir Harry's Road, Edgbaston, Birmingham. I attended that from 1978 till 1990, and I had a reputation as being a good student. I actually wasn't good at studying, but I think back then I did actually have a very good memory. I could just memorize chunks, just huge chunks of information. But by the time it got to serious study, like A-levels, I couldn't do that anymore. And I had no significant study skills. I didn't pick them up until I was over 30. So that's how I got it together and qualified as a nurse. I don't know if I could actually study anymore now. I think my brain, my perimenopausal or possibly menopausal brain is just fried. But anyhow, I have written and published 4 books. I have finished and am in the process of formatting and editing a 5th book. And I've actually started writing a 6th book and maybe a 7th, but that is my work in stasis. What I like about self-publishing, indie publishing, is that you don't have to stick to a timetable, a schedule set by someone else. You can work within your own time, because I don't know if I'd want to be a full-time writer. What I want to be is just full-time Rin. But and I'm always Rin, but if you're doing a job and it's in a particular industry where it's going to be other people's needs, well, you do the job, you play the part, and that is not 100, that's you playing a part, really. With writing, I got to say, even though you can express things, you can express just about anything you want to in fiction and sell it, you still there are still certain constraints that you have to work within. I like Amazon Kindle, Amazon KDP, Kindle Desktop Publishing, because I have the freedom to write and publish anything that I want. But that doesn't mean that anything that you want to publish really goes, because there are people who have written things that they are just so horribly, marvelously, wonderfully offensive that they wouldn't that if they start getting big enough, that they get enough attention, they won't be published anymore. I have the manuscript of someone who published something like that, and I haven't finished reading it yet, but it is just wonderfully nasty. It is just such a nasty book, and he's got such a respectable occupation, and he functions as a decent person, but people, there's this book that I read a long time ago. It was a Christian book, Neil Anderson, and there was this line that really stuck with me. We are not humans having a spiritual existence, we are spirits having a human existence. As such, being human can sometimes be very constraining, functioning in society as a respectable, healthy individual. That can also be constraining. I'm not saying that the constraint should be done away with. I'm just saying that sometimes these things, you feel the pressure to remain and to contain yourself in ways that aren't always beneficial to you as a spirit. So you have to find a way to express and communicate and be all that you are, and remind others of who they are. Indie publishing, self-publishing is very good for that because of the freedom. You don't have to work within a particular time frame. You don't have a pressure to meet other people's expectations. You can just do whatever it is that you want and sell it. Of course, it's within certain constraints, but you can work within those constraints.